Hi everyone, this is part 3 of quadratic equations, their forms like vertex and intercept forms. Also, these are accompanied by graphs. You may want to see part 1 and part 2 also. In this section, I want to do two things, and that is to compare the quadratic equation form with the vertex form and the intercept form. And I have them in a chart here, and then I'm going to give you two graphs, and we're going to try to take points that are clear on the graphs and figure out which equation form to use to find the original equation. The big issue will be to find A. So you will notice here that I've divided this into four main columns, and that is how to find the x-intercept, which means y equals 0 is of course, the equation of the x-axis. Y equals 0 is the equation of the x-axis. So these are called solutions, solve, zeros, or roots, or x-intercepts. Then we come to the y-intercept. The y-intercept uses x equals 0, which is the equation of the y-axis, and then the axis of symmetry formula or other ways to find it, and then the vertex. And mainly we want to determine that if negative a is there, that means it opens downward, and the vertex therefore is a maximum. If a is positive, that means the parabola opens upward, and the vertex is a minimum. So first we look at the quadratic equation, which is ax squared plus bx plus c. We do a lot of factoring with this, which means that we find the x-intercepts fairly easily. But if you can't factor, you can always use the quadratic formula to find the x-intercepts. Another nice thing about the quadratic form here is the c, which is the y-intercept. That's sometimes can be an easy one to see. And then if you want to form the axis of symmetry, you use the axis of symmetry formula, which is x equals negative b over 2a. Then to find the vertex, you plug and chug, you plug it into the original equation. The second form is vertex form, and this is nice because it tells you so much. If you have the vertex, which is HK, notice over here on the rightmost column, HK is the vertex. That is a major point in the graph. In fact, that's the easiest one to use when we're doing graphing. These other two will require 3 points, whereas the vertex only requires 2. One of them's a vertex and any other point on the graph. Then in vertex form, we solve for x and find the x-intercepts by the method called square roots. The y-intercept is, again, x equals 0, and the axis symmetry is x equals h. So h is the center of the graph. Then the last form is called intercept form. And intercept is good when you know the x-intercepts. So I call those R and T, and that actually stands for roots. Find the two roots. And R, probably this should be minus x minus R equals 0, and x minus T equals 0. And then the axis of symmetry, well, you take the R plus the T, the first x-intercept plus the second x-intercept, and divide by 2. Then you take that answer, plug and chug into the original function. So I'm going to show you a graph right now. We'll determine the main points, and we'll decide which of these 3 forms would be best to work this. Here's the first graph, and I want us to mark some critical points. You notice here that the x-intercept is -3, so x equals -3. And you'll notice the other x-intercept is x equals 5. So this one's 5, 0, -3, 0. You'll notice that the vertex is not very clear, but what is clear is the axis of symmetry. It looks like 0, 30 is a place on this graph. So I don't know the vertex, but I do know the x-intercepts and the y-intercept. So I'm going to take that and use the intercept form, which is y equals a times x minus r times x minus t. In our case, the r is -3, so we're going to minus a negative, make that a +3. And the t on the right side is 5, but the formula says it has a negative in it. Now, I'm still missing something. I'm still missing a. So what I'm going to need is another point up here, and I happen to have one. The x is 0, y is 30. So I'm going to bring that down here and put 30 here, 0 here, 0 here. So this gives me -15a equals 30. So a equals -2. So that tells me the graph opens down. I can observe that it does. Now let's take all this and put together the answer. The answer is y equals a, which is -2, times x plus 3 times x minus 5. So this is a way to use a graph to write an equation. It really helps to know the 3 different forms. This again is a more official look of that with formulas. This was taken from the first page and is a combination of the graph and the first page. We've talked through all the parts of it. Okay, next we come to a place that looks really good because we know, looks like the x-intercept is 8, 0. The other x-intercept is 0, 0. And even the vertex looks clear. It looks like it is 4, 8. Well, anytime I'm giving the vertex, I probably want to use the vertex form of the quadratic, which looks like this. So let's plug in h, which is 4, has a negative sign supplied by the formula, plus 8. So we need to determine what a is. I need another point to do that besides the vertex. So I'm just going to go down here and pick 0, 0. So y is 0, x is 0. So this is 16a equals -8. So I have to take the 8 across. So a equals -8 / 16, which is -1/2. So if I was rewriting this equation using what we just found, I would write y equals a, which is -1/2, times x minus 4 squared plus 8. So I would notice my vertex is 4, 8. This seems to suit all the conditions. And lastly, Here is a summary of the different steps if we want to find either by the intercept method or by the vertex form. So this happens to be all the information on the vertex form right here, right there. Okay, I hope this has helped you to understand a little more how a graph and knowing the parabola equations can really help you identify the actual equation of any specific parabola. Some parabolas require up to 3 points to know. What I like about the vertex form, the one we just did, I just need the vertex and any other point, including an X-intercept. So I like the vertex form the best. So I hope this has helped you in your study of parabolas and how they relate to the X-intercepts. Okay?
In the upper right hand corner, make sure you subscribe. In the upper left hand corner, make sure you check out other videos. Likes are below and make comments on topics you need.